Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Anthony Rapillo.
I don't know where to look, my bad. Am I looking at you?
Yeah, you can look at me.
Okay,
yeah,
cool, because I saw you look at the camera as well.
Yeah. You can say hey,
okay,
if you
cool,
want to,
cool,
but
no, I'm kind of good, just pretending it's not there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Be, like, staring
well,
at
before we get to that, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what you do, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, cool. So my name is Anthony Rapillo. I own a couple restaurants and bars in the Triangle area. We've been out here for like 4.5 years now. And yeah, just in hospitality.
Yeah. Have you always been in hospitality?
I have actually, yeah. So I'm from New York City. My first job was at a family-owned like Italian restaurant called Lenny's in Howard Beach in Queens. If anybody's familiar with it,
Lenny's sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's definitely like a little like local celebrity spot. It's like right by JFK Airport, which is where I grew up. I got the job there when I was 14, like as a busboy, like making money under the table and like.
That was your first job, you said?
First job ever. Instantly fell in love with it, man. Like, and it made sense because like I wasn't really a good student. Like I wouldn't, I didn't like, I didn't really do great at school. So to fall into hospitality pretty early.
That's interesting that you fell in love with it. Like what about it did you fall in love with?
I just think it's so cool where like, you can go in the kitchen and you could talk to a bunch of guys in their 40s that have like, lived 100 lives, and you go to the dining room and there's like two 18-year-olds on a date, and then there's a 40-year-old, having an anniversary dinner. It's like, I just feel like it just kind of...
So you like the diversity of it?
Yeah, 100%. And it sharpens your kind of like conversation skills, and you kind of learn about all these different walks of life. I feel like when you're any celebration or anything bad that happens, the only common denominator is food, right? If there's a wedding, there's always food. If someone got engaged, there's always food. If God forbid there's a funeral, people are eating, they're drinking, they're consoling each other in that way. So I feel like food does a really good job of kind of the togetherness of it, which is what I've kind of always focused on. So
you're from New York? What part of New York? Queens?
I was born and raised in Queens. It was
how was it there, man?
Awesome, man. I grew up in a town called Howard Beach, kind of like on the backside of Howard Beach. It's called Lindenwood. Just like exactly what you would think it would be, right? So like a lot of like walking to school, all your friends like on the stoops, walking to the park, and going to the bodega and all that type of stuff, which was a ton of fun. I'm really happy and grateful that's where I was raised, and that's a city that raised me. It was me, my mom, my sister, my brother. My dad was kind of like in and out. So it was kind of just the four of us, which was cool. Had a really good childhood growing up.
Cool. Before we get diving deep into it, why don't we talk about these beers that you brought?
Oh yeah, so I just recently opened a brewery. It's called F&B Brew. It's a little like microbrewery in downtown Raleigh. So we need a bottle opener.
Oh shit! You got a lighter? Hold on, let me see. I got something.
I should have known that too because I told him to seal them.
It's all good.
There you go. You can open it with a lighter like a pro. Man, that was quick.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Just like that.
Bingo. 10 out of 10.
There we go.
This is a little. It is an Orange Session IPA.
Okay. Is that what I have to? I can't remember. Okay, gotcha.
We got the same deal. So we just opened. So we just started distributing. The tap room isn't open yet, but we are distributing to like Raleigh, Cary, Briar Creek. So it's been cool. It's been cool, kind of messing around with it and kind of getting into beer. I didn't really know a ton about it.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine is a brewmaster. His name is Josh. Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, that's smooth, man.
It's pretty good.
Damn.
Yeah, Josh is cool.
I'm not a big like beer guy, but like that was very smooth.
I definitely wasn't, and now these past kind of few months since we've been brewing, obviously you're tasting a lot of beer and kind of trying to give input while still letting the head brewmaster kind of do his thing. So that part of it has been fun.
That's cool, man. Wow. If you could do me a favor, the bottle, you could just take it to the corner of the desk. Yeah, that's cool. And then we could just keep this in front of us.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Awesome. Man. This is really good, dude.
Thanks.
So, and this is your first time doing a brewery?
Yeah, this is my first brewery. Yeah, so I have so to kind of like rewind, like I was in New York and kind of like I didn't go to college. I was working at like a property management job in Manhattan, kind of like effing.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Oh, do you want me to do something with it?
Just tuck it in. Just tuck it in for me. Just in case that noise.
No, 100%. I don't want to ruin the whole deal. Cool. Yeah, is that cool?
Yeah.
Cool. So I was working in Manhattan, kind of like at this crappy job that I didn't really love. I ended up going to Italy like on a vacation with an ex and fell in love with kind of like that whole life and kind of how it was. And I knew that I was kind of done with New York. I wanted to get out of there. So I ended up leaving the city. After Italy, I ended up living in Jacksonville, Florida, which was, my sister was living there.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Yeah, she has some kids. I wanted to be closer to. Yeah. You know, you're not really taking vacation to go see like your nieces and nephews. So to live close to her was a cool, little stop. I was there for a few years, and it was then that I really started like focusing on like, I was like 27, 28, and I'm like, yeah, like what am I doing with my life? I'm kind of like a mess up, you know what I mean? And I was able to. I started like a little meal prep company, which was my first business, just kind of like making healthy food. Yeah. I had gotten into the gym, like the food part of it was important to me. I always liked cooking. I always enjoyed being in a kitchen. So we started that. It started to get a little bit, nothing crazy. You know what I mean? Like I remember like we would get excited if we sold like 100 meals, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like in a week, and it was a huge deal to us back then, which is...
Was that tough for you? Like starting that up?
Yeah, it was. So I had a day job. I managed a Hooters actually when I was in Jacksonville. Okay. Just, like to pay rent and stuff. And then this little meal prep thing was my side hustle. I loved it because I was really quick to like, I guess like fake it till you make it, where like you're not pretending, but like, you make the Instagram page, you make the Facebook, you have a business phone, and your friends are eating your food and they're sharing stuff on social media, and you just, you feel like you're on top of the world, and like you're maybe putting like $15 in your bank account at the end of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it didn't matter. It was still cool. It was kind of like, it was kind of the first step of like, you make your own schedule, and if you don't get this done, no one else is going to do it for you, and you've got to kind of like, when it's that small, you've got to be everything. So you've got to learn how to make a website by like going on Squarespace, and I'm sure which right, with everything that you've done. So you kind of have to learn how to put on all hats, which was
you also learn how to like what to do.
Yeah,
in the
100%.
First place. I feel like a lot of people, entrepreneurs, when they start off, and like when they start in the first business, like don't really know what to do. So like they only work maybe 2-3 hours at first.
Yeah, 100%.
And stuff like that.
And like you said, a lot of it is just not knowing. A lot of it is ignorance, where, you just kind of assume, like at your regular job, all these things that happen that you just think exist, and it's like, no, there's other people that do every single part of what it is that you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So it forces you to learn that. It forces you to really kind of to learn how to work hard. It's a lot easier to work hard for yourself for no money than it is to work hard for somebody else for no money, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
So we were in Jax. We were trying to grind with this meal prep. Like I said, that was very, very small bones, but I took a lot of love and had a lot of passion for, and just through like some strokes of luck, I had met somebody that was trying to do some stuff with pizza. I had some pizza background, whether it be from New York and obviously from being in Italy. And the conversation was like, hey man, you go find X amount of dollars, which I had like $50 to my name. And it was like, hey, go find this money. I can kind of give you kind of like the mentorship that you need. Go pick a spot. Let's go find a restaurant. You could do this.
Why'd you want to go down that route? Is it just because you were sick of your job and you need something different?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was that. A lot of it was just kind of like beating myself up and feeling like, you kind of play the whole like keeping up with the Joneses game, where you see how your friends are doing and kind of like, who's getting married and who's having kids and who got a promotion. And, I wasn't, not like I'm crazy old now, but like I wasn't young, like late 20s. You should probably have your life figured out a little bit more than I did back then.
They say so, right?
Yeah, exactly, which wasn't even that long ago. But so I met through the meal prep and me working at Hooters, I met an ex-NFL player who kind of like still hung around like the stadium and whatnot. And I ended up taking him to dinner, and I pitched the pizza place. And I remember I invited him to dinner. So we're at this steakhouse that I'll never forget, man. Like as we're ordering stuff, I'm trying to do like the mental math in my head of how much my debit card can take before like if it gets declined, we're done. Like, you know what I mean? This dinner's over, you know what I mean? So, making sure like to not get another glass of wine and like, I'm good, I'm kind of full, no dessert, you know what I mean? And at the end of that conversation, somehow this guy had made the commitment to be like the initial investor on the first restaurant that we did here.
Wow. Were you sweating when you were having that
Oh my God, it was the hardest dinner I've ever been to. Yeah, and his name is Chris Luzar. He's still like a really good friend of mine. He's no longer, I bought him out of all the businesses just because, you know, we were lucky enough where that was kind of an option for us, but he's still someone that I lean on for a lot of different things. And he was, I mean, he's a huge dude. He's like 6'6", like 280.
Damn.
So he's just like an intimidating, you know, he's the next NFL player. Like he's like an intimidating figure, but he was so kind and like a gentle giant, and he definitely he made me feel as comfortable as possible. So whatever, we did it. I needed to find a space. I started, it was the day before Halloween 2019. So October 30th, 2019. I found from Googling, I found a restaurant in Cary, North Carolina. I won't say the name of it. It was a restaurant that wasn't really doing so great business-wise. Sure. We were able to take that place over pretty quick. I found him on the weekend of Halloween, and we signed the lease. Like we got the deal done. We signed the lease on December 4th of 2019. So, you know, a month and a half later.
How'd that feel?
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, it was unreal. Yeah, man.
It's like an achievement right there, man.
Yeah, it was so cool.
But at the same time, it's like, okay, now it's like game time, you know?
That's such a good point. Yeah, so I always kind of think of it, it was like, you know, the restaurant's ready and you turn the key and you open the door and it's like, all right, is that the finish line or is that the starting line? And for us, thank God, we were able to kind of view it as the starting line because, you know, we opened January of 2020. We opened January 22nd and business was sick. Like we did a really good job marketing. I had moved here with some friends. One of them is my business partner. His name is Ryan Parker. He's incredible, like just the best dude I know. Yeah. And then moved here with a couple other kids, like young kids. I moved here with Ryan. Ryan was 22, and we moved here. And like I was like, yo, I'm gonna open a restaurant. Let's do this thing. He came with. He brought his little.
Let's take a step back a little bit. So you went from Florida to Cary?
Yeah, I went from Florida to Cary. Yeah, I went from Jacksonville. Was looking for a restaurant. I knew I didn't want to stay in Jacksonville any longer. Yeah. We had found through a friend. We were told about this restaurant in Cary that was going out of business. We made an offer to buy it, and then.
That's a big move, dude.
Yeah, I mean, as quick as could be. Like, you know, October 15th, we had I had never heard of Cary, North Carolina in my life. Yeah. And we moved, you know, the first week in November, and then we started, you know, getting ready and getting ready to sign the lease, which we signed on December 4th. Right. So yeah, I mean, it was a whirlwind. It was just a testament to, I feel like, all of us being like, hey, this could be something cool, but we've got to commit to it. And for us, it was like, all right, we're not moving there alone. Like we're moving. I'm moving there with some buddies. That'll help me focus and kind of like
that's true.
Continue down this path of like, hey man, I'm just trying to work hard and kind of just figure out my life, right? So
got some support there.
Yeah, which was awesome. I mean, even now, like I mean, driving here, I was on the phone with Ryan, just kind of like talking about doing the podcast and whatever else, and he's been great with all of that. So
that's great, man.
Yeah, so we opened up and business is sick, and then.
How did you take the marketing? Because, you know, so you said you did great marketing.
Yeah, I feel like we tried to be like as authentic as possible. I feel like a lot of times, I think it's a good thing that a lot of restaurant like owners, they kind of want to like remove themselves because they feel like, hey, it's not my story, it's the restaurant, and I'm going to focus on the food. Right. And for us, we felt like, hey, immediately we could tell that Cary definitely had like a very small town, like charmy vibe, and I feel like it would be easier for them to want to support someone that wasn't from North Carolina if they knew who we were, right? So like we put our faces and our like voices on a lot of initial like welcomings and like Facebook posts. We did a lot of like Facebook marketing, Instagram, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing to do, honestly, because people want to relate to somebody,
100%.
Not a business.
Yeah, right? 100%. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're selling pizza. Like, you know, it's hard to like how much nuance can you put on like a slice of pepperoni, right? Like it's just a pizza, right? So for us, we kind of dove into the other part of it, you know, like let's do like Q&As with our cooks and what are our bartenders, what are their favorite sports teams, all that type of stuff. So
yeah, that's great.
Things were good, and then COVID hit 6 weeks later, and then, you know, the bottom falls out.
Talk to me about like the beginnings of that. Did you see it coming?
No, it was the hardest. It was the hardest thing that I mean, to this day, it's the hardest thing that we've ever done. Yeah. Which is nice because now we've got years of it under our belt. But I mean, we were so flying high, right? Like I was like 31. And it was like, man, we opened this restaurant and it's successful and the food's really good and the product is great and the community really likes us. And these 6 weeks have been incredible. And then, you know, in a day, and you know, I don't want to get into like the intricacies of it, but the announcement was made that we're closing dining rooms and this is what we need to do. And then all of a sudden,
you were 6 weeks in.
6 weeks in, yeah, because we opened late January.
And then
2020.
COVID hit?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because we were January 22nd of January 22nd, 2020. Yeah. And we lost the dining room second week of March.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't even have 2 months. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
Yeah, it was rough. It was.
Damn.
It went from, we were probably doing like a new restaurant, maybe like $35,000 a week in sales, which is like, which is okay for a new restaurant. Like, you feel good about it. You could pay your bills on time and everything's straight.
Yeah.
And we were doing like $7,000 weeks. It was just like,
Damn, dude.
what are you supposed to do? You have no dining room, and our pizza doesn't travel well on purpose. It's like a Neapolitan style pizza, so there's no preservatives. It's not like, you can get a pizza from Domino's and leave it on your curb for 3 hours and it'll look like Domino's.
Yeah.
Like our pizza will not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's all fresh.
yeah, it didn't lend itself to that type of model. So it was a lot of hard conversations and a lot of like, man, I moved these people here to kind of follow me on this crazy dream, and like, can't pay their rent, and like I can't pay their salaries. Like, what are we supposed to do? So it was a lot of prayer, like literally so much prayer, and just like, yo, are we closing up shop? Like, we had a lot of conversations with the landlord and being like, do you let us out of the lease? Like, what do we? I guess everybody's going back home, and a lot of that, I didn't want to. You're not telling your staff that, so you're kind of just sitting with it on your own and trying to. Yeah. You're ashamed and you're embarrassed about it. So I feel like the point of that is like it definitely thickened our skin.
Did you have any guidance through that? Like, for me, I think about like my accountant, right?
Yeah.
And like, the best thing to do with a business, because she owns a few businesses, 100%. So she knows, So like,
yeah, there's definitely a village of people that I could lean on from every aspect, which I'm so lucky and blessed to have. So yes, I mean, I definitely had a lot of people to lean on. The only problem was it was so unknown for everybody that there really wasn't much of a parallel. And unfortunately, especially back then, everybody wanted to like just hyperfixate on like whose fault it was and like what's the political ramification. It's like, hey, well, that's fine, but like I've got to pay rent tomorrow. And like the account is just like a smiley face that's upside down. You know what I mean? Like there's well, you guys could argue about that, but I don't care. Like, how do I keep my employees employed? Like, how do we keep food in the restaurant? So that part made it a little bit tough, but then the flip side was that it forced us to kind of think outside the box on a couple different things. So like something that really kind of turned the corner for us was we have like a decent sized parking lot. So we built like a drive-in movie theater. Ooh. And we were showing, like we were bootlegging it. So like we bought a projector, we bought black curtains, we hung them outside, we're playing the projector, and like we logged into like a Disney Plus account. Yeah. And we're playing like Little Mermaid, you know what I mean? And
that's creative, man.
It was okay. And then ABC News came out and did a story on it, and then we were the busiest place in Cary, which was sick. And then that definitely helped put us on the map.
So going a little bit more into that.
Yeah.
So the news picked it up, business started to grow. Did you just do more of that, of the move-in? So
we would have, and then unfortunately the state government shut it down because they said we weren't socially distancing the cars in the parking lot. And that if they had to open their windows to listen to the movie, well then technically the cars needed to be 6 feet away from each other. And then we were just like, damn. Well, like if you have a 2-lane road and the light is red, the two cars are going to stop at the same intersection and their windows. I was like, it's kind of we just felt like, I remember like I sent a pretty nasty email back and I'm like, your friend must own a pizza place across the street. Cause like, there's no way that this makes any sense that you're going to shut me down. Cause like the Camry's not being socially distanced. But, but we listened to them. I mean, cause we had to, they were fining us a lot of money every day. And we didn't have the money to deal with it. Sure. But then even the positive on that was then there were a lot of people that felt like we were like, wronged by a government official, and it became this thing. So it ended up being a positive. We ended up only running it for about a couple of weeks, but the story spread and people wanted to support us because they felt like we were, we were doing what we could, not only to make money. Obviously we were trying to make money, but it also was like, has anyone like seen anybody else in a month and a half? Like probably not. Like, yo, come hang out at this pizza place. We didn't charge anyone. Like you didn't even have to be a customer. Like we told people like, if you already ate dinner, just pull up in the car. Like just hang out with us, man. Like we're bored. Like we have nothing to do, So that part was cool.
So did the news come back and
they did not. No, the ABC News came out the one time. They took some pictures and they wrote a really sweet article about us. I think Food and Wine ended up doing something too, which was Food and Wine is huge. They did it on a much smaller scale, but they gave us a couple of shout outs, which was nice. It was just a way for us to kind of just help with our name. And then we get our dining room back. I think that I want to say that June, and then. We only got it back at 50%, but at least it was something. At least people got to learn about like the culture. I feel like we're really lucky that we have good employees that are personable, especially at the first business.
Yeah.
So you can't really see that when you're just picking up a pizza in your car, right? Like I have a mask on and I'm passing you a pizza. There's no personal one-on-one there. So once we got the dining room open, we were kind of able to show who we were, like as a business and what we stood for.
Well, you had to readjust as well, right?
Yeah,
Did you have to put
so
like any
much
kind of
so.
like plastic in between the
So
tables?
it's funny. So initially we were fast casual. So imagine like going to like Five Guys, where like you order at the counter, they give you a table number, you find a seat, you pour your own drink, and then you sit. Because we had to social distance the line, thank God on weekends we were very busy. Our line would like wrap deep into a parking lot that was pretty busy. We're in like a Trader Joe's parking lot,
Okay.
and they have a lot of business. So
Yeah.
it was just kind of like a safety hazard for people online because the lines were really long. So we pivoted and like overnight we had to turn V Pizza from a fast casual to like a full service restaurant where like there's a host and you have a seat and we hand you a menu. So yeah, I mean, to your point, as far as like trying to make changes on the fly, I mean, we literally changed the entire operation of the restaurant in a day because we were like, yo, this isn't sustainable, and how do we kind of capitalize on the hand that we're dealt, like a million other restaurants are dealt, right?
It seems like you guys have really good communication.
Yeah,
Do you feel like that's highly important when it comes to that kind of thing?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of it is the biggest thing that I always tell everyone that I feel like I always try to be first to do is like, just say you don't know something. Like I feel like people ask you a question and you're like, well, I think, and it's be like, I don't know, bro. There's so many things I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a few things that I do, and then it's like if you surround yourself with the right people, then hopefully like they kind of pick up for your slack. Like the guy Ryan that I spoke about a minute ago, everything that he's good at, I stink at. And there are a lot of things that he might not be the best at that I can kind of compliment him with. And then with countless other people, right? Like whether it be like a general manager or a director of operations, like you really just want to be able to complement each other's skills.
Yeah, and know that.
Yeah,
as well.
and just have the balls to be like, bro, I don't know. I'm an idiot with this. I don't know how to do X and I don't know how to do Y, as opposed to like talking in circles trying to come up with an answer. So we communicate where it's like, it's okay to say you don't know and it's okay to say whatever, but like, let's have a quick powwow. You know what I mean? I'm big on like group chats. I feel like phone calls, like more than 2 people, it gets rough, or like Zoom calls. But let's have a quick group chat, man. Let's figure it out and let's take 20 minutes and try to get to the bottom of it. And 90% of the time, we're just making food. We're not doctors. You know what I mean? So like, you got to be able to figure it out. As long as you're kind of, if you could just humble yourself, I feel like at least for all I could do is speak for us. But that was kind of big. Where at the beginning, I was like, man, I know everything. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll figure it out. And you're not. You just can't. So.
I feel like humbling yourself is a big thing about it too, right?
Yeah, and for sure.
Yeah, just not knowing anything, being vulnerable, being humiliated or something.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you got to learn how to take it on the chin and and bounce.
I think people
back
respect
from
you more.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, I'm not the best at that in different parts of my life where I can definitely. I could always stand to be humbled. You know what I mean? Like and it's something that I do try to work on. Where even recently, like super recently, like I had like heard something that I didn't want to hear, and all of a sudden I let it like affect my day for 2 days. And I'm like, why, man? Like you didn't hear something, so man up and make them change their mind. You know what I mean? If they didn't like this thing about you, be better, and then they'll like it instead of like pouting and like now I'm gonna like walk around in a bad mood all day. So in all walks of life, I do feel like it's important, like you said, to learn how to be okay being humiliated and just take it for what it is and kind of be better.
Do you feel like you always had that kind of like good communication, like being humble and stuff like that?
No,
like growing up.
I don't think so at all. I think I think every good quality that I have is because of my mother. She passed away a long time ago, but. Best parent I could have ever asked for. She definitely tried to instill in me a ton of good things. Unfortunately, me being like an idiot kid, there were a lot of things that when you're young, you just don't kind of pick up on.
Yeah.
I think in the last few years, I've been able, just from getting a little bit older, I can kind of look back on like these like core memories, like, oh, like this is what she was saying, and this is what she meant about taking accountability and what does it mean to be a man and all those types of things. So, all those things I learned from her. I wish I was smart enough to have learned them younger, so then I could have applied them a little bit better.
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't in my cards. Yeah, unfortunately, man, it was a lot of a lot of silliness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, silliness. Like people. I always when I talk to people from New York, like that grew up in New York.
Yeah.
It's always been like, awesome, man. Just like,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, riding around, you know.
It's definitely it's an awesome. I feel like the best thing that I can kind of like offer to my friends that still live in the city and or have like hesitations about leaving. There's nothing better than like being brought up by a really big city like a New York or a Boston or Atlanta or Chicago, and then applying what you learned in that huge city to a city maybe just a little bit smaller. Because it's just in New York, I had side hustles in New York and I thought who I was. Everybody has 12 side hustles. Oh, everybody is grinding. Everybody has a restaurant job and a weekend job and a night job and you know, who's just, trying to make money on social media or whatever it is. But when you kind of learn that there and then you apply it somewhere else where maybe not everyone in the world not everyone in your city is out there grinding 70, 80, 90 hours a week. Well, now you stand out, right? Like you kind of
get that tough skin, man.
Yeah, 100%. So, and that's purely because I was lucky that my mom gave birth to me in Queens versus, you know, I don't even want to like say a city and then it's a bad city, but I'm saying like just like a rural area, right? Like Jacksonville, North Carolina. Like that probably wouldn't be the same. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's a ton of positives there, but
growing up in like a big city, man, it's just really just toughens your skin. It
100%.
Gets you out there talking to people.
Right, that's important.
Having to deal with different situations.
100%.
Yeah.
Like just us, right? Like meaning, you know, obviously this is your job and this is your passion, but like even the way that you were able to welcome me in the first 30 seconds, right? Like those first 30 seconds meeting someone and kind of, they're so important to how the rest of your relationship is going to be probably for a pretty long time, right? Like I've made my snap judgment on you and now it'll take you a lot longer to change my mind than it will be for you to give me my initial opinion, right? So, you know, you did a good job at that. And some people that don't because they might not have been exposed to it, like that's one of the most important things you could teach somebody, right? Like the way that you know, not even just my industry, but like, you know, the way that a server will say hi to a table, that sets the tone for the next 2 hours of your night. Or
I wonder how people can learn that more often. I feel like there's a business there.
100%. Yeah, I'm sure that there is, right? Like just on how to, it really is, a lot of it is just like, what are you exposed to when you're young so that you're not kind of taken off guard when you're a little bit older and you might be reintroduced to an ethnicity that you might not know of, or maybe someone, you know, with a different sexual orientation or whatever it is. Like all of it is just ignorance. If you don't know it, then you don't know it. But if you learn it young enough and you just kind of learn how to I feel like I always want to be enough where I can make people feel comfortable to open up to me about something. Where like you leave a conversation and they feel like whatever they told you, like, oh, I guess he liked that. I guess he thought that was cool. Because I hate, you know, like when you tell like somebody a story and they kind of just like are quiet and they don't really like, and they're like, it's the worst feeling in the, like, I'd rather you punch me in the mouth than like me tell you something that I'm excited about.
Right.
And you just kind of listen and so I feel like I was that kid growing up where I had like, you know, weird stuff that you like and like an adult looks at you kind of like you're like an idiot and like that would always just kind of like kill me. So no matter what somebody tells me, man, I don't think it's being inauthentic. I don't think you're being fake. It's just listen really well for 10 minutes and you're never going to see the person again. And like, you didn't really make their day, but you just made them feel like you were a little bit more approachable. You helped them open up. And for us in our business, obviously, that's the most important thing is you want the people that come and sit at your restaurant or at your bar or your brewery or whatever, you want them to feel comfortable. So I feel like for us, that's probably the most important thing that we preach is trying to make that person that you may have never met before feel like they're in their neighborhood spot, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because I remember going to a pizza place in Cary. I forget where the like a really tiny Walmart is.
Okay.
And I went in there and the guy's straight from Italy, you know what I mean? But like I felt so at home. He was welcoming. He's like, hey,
that's so cool. That's such a good vibe. That's exactly what you're looking for. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that. You feel like now you're like in this guy's home's kitchen. You know what I mean? And you're just hanging out.
Exactly. So you said you had a lot of side hustles growing up?
Yeah. I mean, you know, always like just silly stuff where like you're trying to get ahead. Where like
a buck here, a buck there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like on the weekends, are you going to work at like the flea market and make some cash? Or like if you know somebody that has a truck and then your buddy's moving a couch and then you're trying to go run across town because he's moving into a small apartment in Brooklyn and what are you doing? And that wasn't just us, that was everybody. So
yeah, but that really set you up for like
to try to be an entrepreneur. Yeah, I think so. Which like, it's funny now because like even like hearing it where it's like, oh yeah, like this entrepreneur is doing another business. Like I don't even really. I think it's almost like it's silly to even consider myself that, even though like technically that's like the job like path that I'm in. But I mean, like we spoke about before, I feel like a lot of your life is kind of predicated on what happened when you were younger.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, when we were younger, that's kind of what we did. It was always a side hustle and how to try to make an extra buck and how to get ahead. And
did you like try and pay attention to like other business owners or anyone else who's doing
man.
things?
So the guy that owned Lenny's, that still owned Lenny's, that the first job that I ever had, his name is Joe DeCandia, and he was like everything that I wanted to be as a business owner. He was. Where like he was so involved. He had a great family, which like he still made time for, and they would come to the restaurant and like sit in the corner table and hang out with dad and like.
Yeah.
But he was always in the kitchen. His hands are always dirty. He would bust any table like. Everyone knew him by name, and he knew not every customer because he was busy, but he knew a lot of customers, or like he knew like one defining attribute about him, maybe like what type of wine they drunk or what was their appetizer.
Yeah.
And because
That's
he was so involved every single day, and he was such like a, sarcastic, and he had like a bad tongue and whatever, but like the biggest heart, and he could yell and scream all he wanted. Like all of his employees knew that he loved them, and like genuinely, man, like I moved here, I opened my first restaurant. I opened my second restaurant, and he was like, man, I got to come see you. And I'm like, yeah, you have 5 kids. Like, you'll come see me one day. Jumped on a plane and came to come see me. Like, yo, I'm at V, man. Come hang out. Like, yeah, so something like that as far as like an entrepreneur and someone early on that I was able to literally just try to take I couldn't because he's so great at it. I don't think I'll ever get to that level, but at least I knew what the cookie cutter looked like, right? And then for me, it was just, all right, let me get 75% of this guy.
Were you like consciously aware of that, or was it like subconscious?
Yeah. No, I knew like, because my dream was always to own a restaurant. Like probably by the time I was like 16, right? Like 2 years into it, I loved it.
That's young, dude.
Yeah, I knew like, hey, look, if my life goes perfectly, one day I'll own a restaurant. And like, I just leaned on him, you know what I mean? And I'm sure he hears a 16-year-old saying he wants to open a restaurant. He's probably heard that a million times. So it's not like...
You think so? I never heard a 16-year-old say that, no.
Yeah, maybe just because like we were
It's always like a starter job for people, you know what I mean?
I know. No, well, that is definitely true. Where for us now, even a lot of times people that are really good in hospitality work, they kind of view it as like, they're almost like embarrassed to say it. Like, yeah, I'm a cook. Yeah, I'm a bartender.
Right.
But when you think about it, it's like, you're basically in sales, and your income is predicated on the work that you do, as opposed to, maybe another job you clock in and you go on a computer program and you're there for 8 hours, and then you turn around and you go home and everything is kind of level. Like, I think that there should be, I wish that people took more pride that just work in restaurants, because a lot of times it's themselves that are kind of putting themselves down, and they feel like they're in these almost secondary roles when. You need them, and it's physical labor, and it's hard, and you're on your feet, and it's unforgiving, and
so the language needs to change.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and we're definitely make a conscious effort to do that. Where like, you should take pride in what you're doing, not because it benefits me, and it does benefit me obviously, but not for that, just for yourself, man. Like you're showing up to work for 45 hours, then you're on your feet on a Saturday double for 12 and a half hours, and you weren't getting the best tips. Like that's a hard thing to do every day,
Do you like kind of prep, like what is it? What's the word? Like talk to them in a way where it's like, no, like what you're doing is great.
100%.
The service you're providing and all that.
I feel like for us it's important to kind of keep them on that line where they understand just how important their job is. Like we don't want anyone to feel like they're disposable, because sometimes you'll hear people be like, oh, like everybody's replaceable in a business. And like, that's just a silly way to run a business. Like,
it is.
I guess, like technically speaking, yes, 2 arms and 2 legs equal 2 arms and 2 legs. But like, these are people that you have a relationship with. Like you spend every holiday with them because you're open every holiday. You spend every night and every weekend. Like, what are you off, like Mondays and Tuesdays? Like, it's hard to meet a regular person that works a 9 to 5 when you're always working. So like, these people are such a big part of your life. If you're not kind of hyping them up, then you're kind of stuck with people that don't love what they're doing, and they're kind of down and they're depressed. And then from a business standpoint, are they not happy with their position, and are they looking for other jobs? And then you have to put an ad out, and ad isn't free. And then you have to train, and the money you put into training, you got to pay someone their salary.
Yeah, the cost
before
of
they
having
know
someone else.
Yeah, it's like the cost
expensive.
of training is huge, right? So when you could limit turnover, it's tangibly as a business owner, it's important to us to try to keep our margins high. But then, just as a human, like I like the people that work for me, thank God, 99% of them. So because of that, like I want them to be happy, like with what they're doing. I don't want them to view this as something that they don't love.
I'm curious. I'm curious about your the employees you work that work for you. When you hire them, or maybe just throughout their employment, do you kind of just like talk to them about like what they want to do? Do they want to go higher up in the company? Do they want to own a business?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, and I feel like the biggest reason why like I've tried to grow as quick as we've grown, and like, you know, there's a ton of reasons, and it's mostly luck, but I feel like there were a lot of like commitments made early on, especially through COVID, where it was like, hey, like if you guys just follow me, I don't know how, but we're gonna find some money and we're gonna keep opening these restaurants and bars as long as we have enough people that can be plugged into manager roles, right? Like who wants to be, you know, like we have a, you know, like at the restaurant in Cary, I have a partner, and they're running Briar Creek. I have another partner, and the restaurant, you know, Flower and Barrel, which will open soon. I have 3 partners that are people that I just buddies that I know and things like that. So the idea is to answer your question, 100%. Like we kind of made a roadmap, and I made a bunch of promises to people that I really care about, where it was, hey, like I'm gonna open enough of these where everybody can kind of get a piece. Not everyone in the company, obviously, but like my core guys that want to stay with us for years and years and view hospitality as like a career versus a job, which is fine. We have a lot of people that just view it as a job. They're in college, and and that's fine too. But the way that, you know, like we opened like a cocktail bar in Briar Creek and another restaurant in Briar Creek because I felt like I needed to. I had too many people that were good enough to be managers, and if I wasn't going to make a manager, somebody else was. You know what I mean? You can't have 5 restaurant managers in one spot, so you've kind of got to grow. But like, you
don't want to lose them, right?
Yeah, if it wasn't for that, like I was pretty comfortable just having the one in Cary. Like that's a, you know, like I don't really like go above and beyond. Like I wear like gym clothes. Like I'm not really looking to drive a crazy car or anything. So for us, it was like the dream was one restaurant. You know what I mean? And now we're about to open our 6th different concept, and it's like that's more of a testament to like us finding good people, and for, you know, for some reason they want to stick with us, and they're kind of they're excited about growing with us and our little hospitality group. So that's kind of been that fire where when we do have those conversations, we get a lot of good answers from employees, and then it's like, well, I guess we got to do something different. I guess we got to do another one. You know what I mean?
It's almost like you're doing it for them.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't want to turn it into like I'm some martyr. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's cool to open the business,
right?
But genuinely, no BS. Like the speed at which we are opening them, 100%, is because of the fact that we feel like we have employees that are ready, and then selfishly, I don't want to lose them.
Right.
So it's like I want to work with these guys because I love working with them, and like I can trust them. Where I feel like, hey, if this guy was a lead at a restaurant, if he was a general manager or whatever it was, if he, you know, if I gave him 5% of the company or 10% of the company, is that going to make me more money in the long run? It probably would, because he's such a good employee, right? So I just don't want to lose him. But
that makes sense, man.
Yeah, I think that part of it has somehow, some way that kind of shifted maybe around like 2021, where like, you know, once we got our dining room back after COVID, where it was like, hey, are we going to be like one little mom and pop pizza place, or like, no, let's get into this stuff. Like let's start growing and trying to do different things and kind of diversifying what it is that we want to kind of stand for as a group.
So and talking about that. Do you feel like obviously you can't open another shop or another restaurant until you feel like you're that one that you have is good?
Yeah,
it's good
exactly.
Right?
It's like self-sustainable.
Yeah, right. So obviously that you were in a good place to open up another shop.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think where we were kind of prior to now, it was, I feel like whenever I feel like I can kind of step away from the restaurant that I'm in, because I try to do maybe like 50 hours like in the restaurant, like doing like restaurant duties, right? So like talking to tables, making pizza, making pizza dough, whatever it is, you know. In the bar, I can't really make a ton of cocktails. I'm not good at it, but helping out in the bars or whatever. Whenever I get to the point where I could probably only be in the restaurant for like 35 hours, then it's like, all right, we should do some construction. Like we should start. Or I mean, the first step is, to be fair, is we need to find money, because it's, you know, I'm not sitting on millions of dollars to go open restaurants.
Right.
So the idea is like, hey, how do we kind of fundraise? Let me start working on that and focusing on that a little bit. So that's kind of been our path, where a year ago I had an opportunity from about a year ago. I had an opportunity from a friend to buy a bar that he had in downtown Raleigh that wasn't doing so well. So we took that over, and and we're about to open. It's called Flower and Barrel. That'll be in downtown Raleigh. It's something a little bit different than anything we've done before. So we'll open this new spot pretty soon. We wanted to do something different. We figure, hey, look, we're downtown, so let's kind of differentiate ourselves from just like pizzas.
Right.
So we're doing like rustic small plates. It's Italian food.
Oh, nice.
The cocktail bar is will be out of this world, man. Like we took a lot of the bartenders from another cocktail bar that I have that's pretty successful. We just won Best Cocktail Bar in Raleigh, and we kind of took that team, and now it's like, all right, now we're going downtown. Let's kind of like let's get some of like our heavy hitters together. Let's collaborate on a crazy menu and try to.
Hold on, one second. Yeah. Let's back up a little bit. You're throwing a lot at me.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. So the cocktail that you won, the best cocktail. Was that for this?
No, so this isn't open yet. So this is I have a bar called Flask. It is it's a cool little cocktail bar out in Briar Creek that's been open for about 2 years.
Is that the second business after V Pizza?
So yes, I get technically the third. So we did 2 V's back to back, and then we opened Flask right after it.
Gotcha.
And then we went and we did another cocktail bar in Cary called the Side Door.
Okay.
Which is, I mean, like this tiny little, cool little cute like date night spot that we have a lot of fun with. It's like 24 like chairs in the whole place.
Oh, nice.
So and then that was kind of the path of the main 4, right? And then whatever we're doing now.
So then so you got 2 V's, and then what made you want to open the cocktail bar?
The cocktail,
Flask.
I guess like just like being like silly. Like I always love cocktail bars, and like I thought that like it was just like a kind of like a cool thing to do. You know what I mean? Like I want to be in that scene, and like restaurants are fun and like whatever, but like if you can get a cocktail bar and like make good drinks and win awards and have like bartenders that are like known in your city, I just feel like if I go on a date, I would love, I love like going to dinner and then afterwards you go get a cocktail somewhere, right? So we kind of just selfishly just kind of wanted to put ourselves in that space.
Do you find that it was a little bit harder than the V Pizza or easier? Or maybe the same?
Ooh, I think that's a good question. I think that initially it was a lot harder because at least I had restaurant experience where like, okay, I know the bare bones of how a restaurant operates. I knew nothing about cocktails. Like I only really drink tequila, and now like I'll mess around with beers because of the brewery, but like I don't know anything about like bourbon or what's a good gin or what's the levels of vodka. Like I don't know how to make, even to this day, I don't really know how to make a good drink and stuff like that. So just because it's a little bit harder when you have to like when you're kind of like at the mercy of your staff, because if all my cooks walk out and all my servers, I could do everything in a restaurant. Right. But I can't make a drink. So if my bartenders leave, we got to lock the doors. You know what I mean? So that part of it was difficult, but because they're just inherently smaller and like they're the sales of the bar are not like what the food side does. It makes it a little bit easier now that they're up and operating, and I have people that I kind of trust. Everything just goes back to if your people are good, and we feel like we have that.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's different. The beginning was definitely a lot harder though, just because I didn't really know it, and then that kind of combined into this, and now this new space, the Flower and Barrel, is like the best of our cocktail bar side, and then we're trying to elevate our food service into this new thing.
Okay, so this is a good question. Oh, I think so. So when you're thinking about a new restaurant or a new bar or combining things, whatever it is, do you, obviously there's like a research stage, right? Yeah. So like how is your research stage? Is it like extensive? You're researching like how many bars are in the area? What do they do? Yeah,
so that's actually a really good question, and it's probably something that I wish that I was a little bit better at. I think for us right now, a lot of it is like conceptually, what do we want it to look at? And that might mean going to a bar in New York because we heard it was cool, or going to, or flying to South Florida because there was a restaurant that we heard might be something that we should try to replicate, right? So it's a lot of like hands-on, just trying to get the feel for a place.
Some inspiration maybe?
Yeah, I feel like at least in my head, I need to be able to visualize like what's it gonna look like when it's open, and then I can kind of work backwards. But to your point, as far as like looking at raw data, downtown especially has so much they have so much data available to prospective business owners that you can find out like, how many bars are within walking distance from this street address, and how many Italian food, and how much Indian food, and how much, Asian, and all that type of stuff. You can really, Mexican, whatever it is, you can really dive into those numbers and get a bunch of raw data in those like secondary markets and tertiary markets where we are, like in Briar Creek. Sure. That data is probably not as readily available, but you definitely want to make sure that you're at least you want to be close to a lot of rooftops. So for us, it's like, not rooftops, but roofs. Like how many homes are nearby? Especially when you're doing pizza, it's just a family meal.
Yeah.
We want to, you know, like I might not be as concerned, like,
I think about that.
yeah, like I don't want to be maybe near like an office building, but I definitely want to be close to a bunch of houses, right? And then we know, hey, look, dinner is our crowd, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock, a little bit earlier when your families are going out for food. That's when we want to be busy. And that's what we've kind of done with the pizza places.
Yeah.
Whereas now downtown, it was, we kind of want to be a part of like a district of other bars and restaurants where now like we're just a part of the destination that already exists.
Yeah.
And we found that where we were you heard of them, Smoky Hollow?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're like attached to Smoky Hollow.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is cool. So now we can kind of, you know, we hope that now we become like a pillar of, hey, this is an area for older people, not like, you know, maybe not 18-year-olds, but like 25, 35, 45, whatever it is,
yeah,
to go out for like a date night, and it's really good cocktails and like
nice.
It's a cool atmosphere, and yeah, so that's what we'll kind of dive into next.
And the foot traffic, bro.
Yeah, the foot
downtown
traffic is incredible. Yeah, like we're a block and a half off of Glenwood South, which is about as close as I want to be. I wouldn't want to be any closer because then you're just a college bar on the strip, and like we don't want to be that.
Especially Glenwood South.
Yeah, exactly, right? Where, you know, those bars serve a purpose, and it's fun to be silly there sometimes, but it's not exactly what we want to be just because of the type
silly
of food and drinks.
And,
yeah. So,
yeah, that's a great location though. Either way.
Yeah, we're excited for it. We're probably about like hopefully just under a month away from getting it open, and then that'll be a whole different whirlwind, right? You know, new restaurant, and we'll see how the community kind of reacts to it, and hopefully we do a good job. And
yeah. So when you're building a business, there's obviously like where there's other businesses around you and stuff like that. Do you maybe take into consideration, like, let me talk to these other businesses and, I don't know, offer like a 20% discount or
that's
do something with them?
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, we definitely...
Almost like a partnership?
Yeah, I feel like you could definitely do that with like, with I guess like non-hospitality spots, right? Like it would probably be difficult for us to go to like, you know, to like a Mexican food place and try to do like trades with them. But yeah, I mean, we definitely have like, we have good partnerships with like you know, like we have someone upstairs from us, like a dentist office, or we've done like promos with them where like their staff can come down and they can offer discounts to maybe some of their patients or whatever it is. So things like that. Yeah, we could definitely work with other businesses that might not be focused on food, or like we'll give shout outs to we'll work a lot with like a local bakery in Cary. That'll help us out with like dessert cakes and stuff that maybe we can't execute on our own.
Right.
And then a lot of it is just really giving love, like, hey, you know, like on our social media pages, if we have, we're probably like over 40,000 people that follow us on our pages, and then we can shout them out and be like, hey, go to this bakery for your next brownie or whatever it is, right? There's a lot of that. Other than that, I feel like we probably try and just stay in our lane. Sometimes, maybe because we're a little bit younger, maybe you know, like our group can kind of get viewed as like, oh, like they're not from here, and like what are they doing, and you know what I mean. So we kind of just keep to ourselves with other businesses when it comes to hospitality, but at least that are nearby. But I've been lucky enough to have some friends that own other restaurants and bars, like just in Raleigh proper. Yeah. And you know, I'm always leaning on them for a lot of stuff because there's.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you that. Like.
People that.
Do you have any kind of like mentors, or just? I feel like entrepreneurs attract entrepreneurs.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think so. I have a really good friend. I'll use his name. His name is John Sealbinder. I met him through COVID. I reached out to him. We became, just because he owns a couple of bars. This one bar that I just go to a lot. It's called The Merchant. It's a really cool bar downtown. And I was getting ready to open Flask, which was my first bar, which I didn't know what I was doing at all. I still don't know what I'm doing, but especially not back then. So I reached out and I was like, hey man, like you seem cool. Like, you know, you got like 10 years on me. Like, bro, I'd love to like buy you a coffee and like just pick your brain. Like I'm opening a bar 30 minutes away. I'm not your competition, but like, and I was expecting him to be like, just kind of be like, yeah, like, just fuck off, you know what I mean? Right. Instead, like he's like, yeah, I'm about to take a 3-hour drive to Charlotte. I can call you. And I was like, okay. We talked on the phone for 3 hours straight, man, just like about COVID stuff and about life stuff. And he's probably my best friend in Raleigh to this day now. Damn. Like that, like I didn't already know like before I got here. And yeah, I mean, he's just been incredible. And I feel like now it's cool because we're both kind of at a point where like, we opened the brewery. I have this flower and barrel thing coming, and then I'm doing another hospitality project right after we just started construction on. So I feel like to kind of have him running like a parallel kind of race where like he has this project that he just broke ground on. He's about to start another one. So it's kind of cool. Like at the end of a long day, he's kind of sleeping the same hours you are. So like at 3 a.m, when I have an hour to talk, it's a normal time for him.
Yeah.
We can shoot the shit. We can go to the gym. We can get a workout in, and like, it's cool to have somebody that like, you know, I have a ton of people that I could lean on, but he's probably the only one that I know that is doing the same kind of life that I'm doing, just 10 years ahead. He's just 10 years in my future. You know what I mean? So and I'll lean on him for a ton.
I think it's important to note that like just asking can change your life.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? Just reaching out to somebody.
Everything that I have, it's because I was just annoying people until people said yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it only takes one.
Yeah, exactly. Even like as far as like raising money, you know, this guy knew I had no money. The guy, the initial investor, he knew that I was like a broke idiot. Just takes one guy to be like, all right, man, I'll take it. You know, because they'll almost, I feel like when you get to like a certain level of success, they'll view you as like a stock. And it's like, all right, am I going to buy stock in Apple? It's like, I can't tell my friends if I made money on that. Like, yeah, of course you did. But it's like, I bought stock in this idiot with the beard. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, maybe he's going to make me a lot of money and maybe he's not, right? So if you can kind of just, again, you know, if you could humble yourself and just have enough, you know, just kind of like humility to be like, yo, I need help, bro. You want to help me? Like, this is, you know, you've got to be well-spoken and you got to come correct. Like, you got to have, you know, a business plan and a pitch deck, and you have to have financials and comps.
Yeah,
but
I was about to say that. You got to be prepared.
I used to carry it in the back of my car. I would have a stack of like that I got made at Staples, like, you know, expensive, you know, like $30 a book, which is expensive to go when you know, you're doing nothing with it, right?
Yeah.
But just keep them in the back of your car, and you never know who you're gonna meet. And you could have like, if it's like a 10-minute conversation, the guy's got a nice suit on, and you know, maybe like his nice 7 Series is parked outside, like, hey man, I'd love to drop this off. My contact information. No one ever calls you back, but you just, like you said, you just need one guy to call you back.
Yeah.
And then once you get the one, then you're in, right? Like once you open the first restaurant, like, or whatever your passion is, once you open your first, you know, brick and mortar, whatever the business is, now you have proof of concept. Somebody invested money in my thing. So if that person has enough money to invest, they must be smart. And I want to do what smart people do, so now I'll give you money. So that's kind of helped us.
From there, it just grows.
Yeah, it helps us where now we can do these projects simultaneously. Where like 3 years ago, no way, like that would have never happened. People would have laughed us out the door. So yeah, a lot of it is just, you know, it's just, I guess just being like kind of annoying, but just being persistent, man. Just kind of going and going. I feel like.
I think the more you're prepared, the less you're probably going to be annoying.
Yeah, true.
Like.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but you know, sometimes you'll hear these people and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm self-made and I did, and it's like, who does it all on their own? You know what I mean?
No.
Like everybody has a village of people that have their back, and like maybe you're like, for whatever reason, like I'm allowed to be at the front of it, but we have over 100 employees. I couldn't do it with 80 of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know, you need the 100. Maybe you could do it with 95, but like you need the people that you have around you. You need like your support system, whether it be like your family or like if you know you're lucky enough to be married or have someone that you care about like that. Like nobody's doing it alone.
That's a habit that I had to break, man. Because like my dad was always like, don't ask for help for anybody.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like do it all on your own. Don't be annoying. Don't, you know, cause any trouble, whatever it is. And I'm like, and I had to learn how to break that, man. And just ask for help. You know, obviously I would do as much research, as much things that I could do on my own. But,
yeah, for sure.
You know, reach out to someone.
You gotta ask, as long as you can, you know, and if you could do it from the right headspace with like the right tone of voice, and not seem like you're being too pushy about it. You know, the worst someone's gonna do is ignore you, and that stinks. Obviously, that's not the best feeling in the world. But
it's funny because like. Yes, I you know, when I ask people to be on my podcast, for example, you know, some of them ignore me and stuff like that.
Really?
But then like, there's like kind of like a chip on my shoulder. I was like, I'll show you.
Yo, 100%.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's the way you have to. Yeah, especially early, like early on, but also forever. Like you kind of have to like, you're almost like creating enemies in your head where you're almost like, I need to find some extra motivation. So like. The cashier at Publix handed me my receipt and kind of crumpled it for a second. Like, does she think I'm a terrible person? All right, well, I'll be back. I'll be back in a year and I'll show them. You know what I mean? Like, you almost want to like create these straw man arguments in your head so that you can then eventually go have something to win.
Sure.
It just helps. It just helps keep you motivated, man. Like the grind of doing the same stuff every day. You know, I still got 60 years to go. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you got to find it from somewhere. So yeah, I think that's smart how you said someone might reach out and like, you know, they're scanning it. They don't mean to be rude and not respond, but you got to take it that way. Cause now you're like, oh yeah, bro. Yeah. I'll see you in a year.
Yeah.
I'll see you in 6 months. Now you'll be reaching out to me and we'll have blown up more and, you know, and then you feel good about it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely. It's definitely,
it.
Obviously in a healthy way. Right. So, but absolutely.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So, man, you're doing a lot.
Yeah, man, trying to. I feel like...
it seems like it, right?
Yeah, I got a lot of energy. I'm also not, which I say this now in my mid-30s a lot different than I would have said it 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I'm also not married. I don't have any kids. So, like, I definitely, you know, not like this is that podcast, but, like, I definitely want to do that. Like, that's something that I'm excited for. So it's like, and I know that once that happens, I'm going to probably have to slow down a little bit. So until it happens, it's like...
It's tough because like you got to manage your time differently.
It's the hardest thing in the world. We're like just trying to like, you know, just like meet somebody, like you know, like meet like the right type of girl and have a good, you know, and like show them nice stuff. It's like, well, hey, are you available Tuesday from 3:15 to 4:05? Because I've got some down. And she's like, well, what about Friday? And I'm like, no, it's not possible. Sorry, I gotta work. You know what I mean?
It's like I have to put on my calendar. It's like, okay, hang out with this person.
Yeah, exactly. So that part can be tough and it gets me in trouble. Where like, you know, it's like, man, like, yeah, like, or like my sister, and she has 3 kids, 2 nieces, an 18-year-old, and then she has twins, a boy and a girl, that are 13. That are 13, and like, my oldest niece will always give me, she's like, yeah, when you get married, like, you're old, like, get married. And I'm like, yeah, I know, like, one day, man, like, right now we're just trying to grind and do as much as we can. So I feel like I probably have these 2 spots that we're building that are almost done.
Yeah.
And then I have one more that I know I want to do, like that's already like fully conceptualized and whatever. We're trying to find some money and see if we can get it to work that way. And then at least that's all I have like in like my mental calendar, right? Like that probably gets me through like, you know, 2.5, 3 years and then kind of reevaluate. But I mean, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing, right? Like, you know, you did this thing for a reason. I'm sure that you have goals that like, some might be 6 months goals and some might be 5-year goals and whatever it is. But it's nice when you kind of have a roadmap in your head.
It is.
You know?
It kind of like, you have a direction to go in.
Yeah, 100%.
You're not lost.
Yeah, and even if it's not, it's okay obviously to pivot and like give yourself enough grace to be like, hey, well, this is different now than what I thought it was going to be in 2022 or whatever. But yeah, it's hard when you don't have anything to guide yourself, like you said, then you're kind of just out there swimming. You know what I mean? And it can be intimidating and you don't really know, like, a lot of it too is learning what to say no to. Like, I'm sure that you have people that might not reach out, but then you yourself, they might seem like an interesting person, but if they don't fit the mold of your podcast specifically, then you might feel like, man, like maybe I can get a drink with this guy or this girl, but like it might not be the best for what I'm trying to build here. So you got to learn how to be selective too, and that 5-year plan or 3-year plan, whatever it is, but some type of long-term goal can really help focus on what are the things I want to say yes to and what are the things I want to respectfully say no to, because it might not be beneficial for this, right? But
and I think also to the point is saying no, but maybe keeping them in mind for
100%.
Other things. And you never know, that person might know other people,
Yep.
right? That actually just does fit in your
yeah. And that's why it goes back to, even if you don't want to do it, you should always kind of take that extra second to be kind and be polite, which we're all guilty of. I'm guilty of being like mean all the time, right? But you know, the kindness that you can show a stranger can really go such a long way. Like you said, you never know when you need them. You never know what pops up, and it's like, oh man, this person might be nice to have in my back pocket, and now I don't have them because of how I treated them 3 years ago, right? But
yeah,
it can get tough.
it can. I find myself sometimes, well, not anymore because I don't have any shadows or ghost in the box or anything. Just like apologizing is goes such a long way.
100%.
And even though they might not forgive you or anything like that, just the fact that it's out there and it's all in the clear now.
And it's hard to do. It's definitely hard to just, at least for myself, I'm always good at saying the word sorry and then giving you a 900-word thesis of why I'm not really sorry. So I was like, I'm really sorry, but remember you did this, and this? So
you
like,
this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I found myself guilty of that a ton where like...
I think we all have that
sometimes you got to just say, I'm really sorry for what I did, and then just stop talking. You know what I mean? And like,
but you need something to remind you to do that sometimes.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like you're in the moment sometimes, and you're just like,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to admit when you're wrong. It's definitely in all walks of life. It's hard to admit when you kind of mess up. But
yeah, absolutely. How are you feeling about the location where you're at? Do you feel like you want to explore more like states or, you know?
Oh, that's cool. That's a good question. I think that I definitely love where I live. Like meaning like the city that I'm a part of and all the areas around it,
Sure.
and which I'm so happy about. And I definitely want to like. I think that I'm okay kind of keeping my roots in like this area. So like maybe something like maybe like it's like it would be cool to eventually do something like maybe like by the beach, just because like it would be nice to do something by the beach. But to be honest, I'm pretty content kind of at least living like, you know, the next like couple of decades here. We're like, hey, this is home, and like whatever businesses that I'm gonna build will probably be North Carolina based, just because the city's been so good to us, right? Like I feel like
I always said it's got a good medium.
yeah, 100%. It has just enough to kind of keep, you know, it's all the stuff that people say, right? Like you're close to, it's like a good 2 hours from the beach, 2 hours from the mountains, whatever they say, and all that stuff. But
Sure.
there is a lot of truth in it. I feel like there's so much to do. There's so many different people from different walks of life that are here. You know, the weather is unbelievable. I love the weather. Like I wouldn't ask for anything different. I like that it gets really cold sometimes, but that, you know, it's over in like a week and a half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and they come back a day later.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I would never go. I would never live in New York again. I know that for sure. I
Why is
love
that?
New York, and I don't know.
A lot of people from New York say that when they leave New York.
Yeah. I feel like before you leave, like I would have got a New York tattoo on my forehead. You know what I mean? Like I was so ride or die, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like you kind of get lost in like the romance of it, and like, man, it's New York City, and oh my God, like there's always something to do, and like, yeah, all that's fine, but I don't know. I just think that it's probably easier to kind of find that balance outside of a city that big. It's just so big, and it's so expensive, and it's such a rat race, and it never stops.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, is it the busyness
Because you want to know why? Because like you can get that in an adrenaline rush. Like I'm a big Yankees fan. I love the Knicks. I'll go home for a couple Yankee games every year. I'll go home like just to see friends once or twice a year. So like I'm in New York like probably every 75 days. And then, you know, you spend a weekend and you get your fix and you're out till 4 a.m, like, you know, hanging out with your friends, and it's the best night ever. And then, all right, I want to go home. Like I want to go back to Raleigh. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's even an easy drive. Like I used to fly, and then I like having my car when I'm there. So if you leave at like 1 a.m, which for like a restaurant guy is not that crazy to say, like you're in Manhattan by 9 a.m. Like it's really not bad. You know, you save a couple podcasts like you haven't listened to because you know you're driving.
Sure.
You fill up the tank. You know, you leave on a full tank. You stop for gas one time, and you're in New York, and you're good. You know, so that's probably why I'll never. I feel like I can get my fix of whatever I need from it from being there a couple of weekends.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe like retire somewhere like on a beach, I guess, one day when I'm older. But what about you? You feel like you'll stay here?
You know, I said that I grew up here, and then I wanted to leave here.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I went to college in Florida.
Oh, cool.
And then I came back, and then, you know, as I grow older, like I think about where I would want to move, and like I just don't see it being feasible with anywhere else.
Really?
Like between cost of living, food cost, gas prices, living costs, whatever it is, it's like it's just a happy medium here.
It really is.
So besides like Raleigh and North Carolina area, it would have to be out of the country.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Would you ever like live like back where like your culture's from, like where your family's from and stuff like that?
No, because that place is fucked.
Is it?
Venezuela's fucked.
So it's not it. Okay.
It's not an ideal place for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Peru.
Oh, that would
Like
be cool.
Lima.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, and it's
Is it sick?
great. Yeah,
Really?
dude, it's awesome, man.
I mean, what's cool too is like I don't know how old you are. How old are you?
38.
Do you have kids?
Nope.
Oh, so yeah, you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like you can go try it and kind of figure out, which is cool. You know what I mean? Like which is the positive of it for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I think I'm probably. I hope that the city continues to do right by us and we're able to kind of grow here and stick around. It would be nice to be closer to my sister, but I already did it, and like Jax, I just don't really like Jax. But,
Well, Florida in general.
Yeah, Florida can be kind of weird. Like, you know, it's cool when you're young, and like I never went to college, so I feel like I was like living in Florida, working at a Hooters. Like it was a joke. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of fun and like cool for that little season of my life. But
Was that a lot of fights?
oh my God, yeah, it was
see a lot of
bananas.
fights?
Yeah, it was nuts. It was the whole experience overall as a whole. I just feel like, you know, like they'll have like those Florida man stories. like like it's like a weird story about like a redneck. And
Oh,
like,
right,
these
yeah.
Florida men, they do. I feel like they're all from Jacksonville because Jacksonville is weird. Yeah, like Jacksonville and Miami might as well be two different continents. Like they
Interesting.
share no similarities.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where I thought I was going. Because I knew my sister lived in Florida when I was younger. I would like go to Miami and like hang out and like have a fun time. So I was like, oh, bro, I'm moving to basically Miami. And then I get to Jacksonville. I'm like, no, this is like South Georgia. Like this doesn't ever feel like Florida.
That's
you know?
funny.
But
talking about a little bit about inspiration.
Yeah.
I know you traveled to different countries and gotten some inspiration.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's something that's always going to be instilled in you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. I definitely love kind of like going to, like, whether it be Naples, which is probably where Naples and Greece is where I've probably spent like the most time. And I feel like, it's that cliche of like, if it's a simpler life, but it really genuinely is. And like, it can definitely make you second guess how you kind of value things that over there. It's not, it's not like they're hippies. They've been taught to not value the same type of shit that we do.
Yeah.
And it's just refreshing. I don't even know if it's better or worse. But because look, I'm an entrepreneur, and you have your business and whatever. So obviously, look, there's a reason why we're doing it. So it's not like we're not terrible people, but like to not live with that, and like when everything is just based around like your family and friends and conversations and having like just enough to kind of like just enough to be comfortable, right? It's just so different.
Lima's like that too.
Is it? Yeah. See, I could imagine. Yeah, I feel like so many places, just outside of like, the capitals of these other countries, people are just hanging, man. They're okay with less, and they want to spend time with the people that they love, and they want to like listen to live music and drink some wine and eat some good food and like just hang out with the people that mean the most to them, and like that part of it just sounds so cool. So I think the inspiration, how that tangibly is shown in the businesses that we do here is that I think that it's like a double-edged sword where we probably have too good of a relationship with just our employees that work with us. Where like, we'll go out to we'll spend our holidays together, and like we'll rent an Airbnb and people will come over for Thanksgiving, and we'll do Easter dinners together, and like.
Okay. So you kind of take that influence of other countries and kind of bring it.
Yeah, but then the problem becomes like what I don't want to do is, and I don't do a good job of this, is like the line gets blurred where it's like, oh, our boss just took us to the bar downtown, and when we just did 4 rounds of tequila shots. Right. I still got to be your boss. Like, you still have to come to work the next day.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not going to listen to you if you call out sick, but that's not really fair because I made you sick. We were doing Vegas bombs for 8 hours. You know what I mean? So that part of it, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to balance between like, I genuinely do, love you dudes and love you girls, and I want to hang out, and I feel like we can do that. But sometimes it's like, man, like, look, we still have a business to run, and like, so. Yeah. That's probably how tangibly it's shown here. But then because you got to come to work the next day, sometimes it can be hard to kind of balance. Your cook comes in with a hangover and he's moving slow, and it's like, I can't get mad at him. That's my fault. Right. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to let it rock. But.
Yeah. I mean, that goes to show, like, even the best entrepreneurs in the world, like it's still a learning process.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I will never, I know for a fact that like, we're just going to kind of keep like faking it till we make it and just trying to figure out, hey, look, like, what do we know how to do? What do we have to pretend we know how to do? And what is stuff that we can't even pretend? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we try to focus on what we can. We try to like stay true to that part of it and then kind of figure out the rest. But yeah, I mean, so far so good, I guess. We're doing all right.
I loved our talk, man.
Yeah, me too. This was dope. Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
this was awesome.
I think people can get a lot of about this and like starting businesses and
I appreciate that
and all of that, man.
Yeah, cool, bro. Yeah, this was incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
why don't you tell everybody where they could find you and when you're opening that up?
So you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. My like personal one is ANTRAP. The reason to even share that is like all the other ones are listed underneath it in like a bio instead of me saying 100 different things. But Flower and Barrel is our newest thing. It opens in downtown Raleigh. Like the first or second week of May, so it's coming pretty soon, and we're excited for it. And appreciate you, man. This was awesome.
Man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out your place too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
like you have to. Yeah, 100%.
I'm gonna bring my girl. And
I would love that.
Yeah.
Right. Awesome, man.
Cool, man. That's it.
Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you're good at it. Yeah, man. Like it's really easy to talk to you and kind of like open up and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, man.